Hi everybody, this quick video is just to give you an idea of what you're going to do in your Action Monday each week, how you're going to fill out your weekly schedule. So what we're going to look at is obviously you want to do your name, your office, and that week that we are meeting for right now today. So let's say that you are meeting on January 22nd, 2018. That's the date you're going to Action Monday. That's the date the week began. This first section is going to be a summary of your last week's activities. So you are going to look at how many people did I contact last week? You're going to fill that out. How many new appointments did I go on last week? And new appointments meaning new people that I met with, not ongoing appointments with existing clients or prospects. This is new appointments that I went on last week. So maybe I went on 4 new appointments, or I scheduled 4 new appointments last week, but I kept 3 because one of them canceled. I held 1 open house last week. I did add 3 new leads to my database. I did 2 drop-bys. And I had, of those 3 appointments kept, 2 of them were probing appointments. Let's say I wrote 1 offer last week, I got it accepted, and I put 1 under contract, but I had 0 close last week. So that's just a quick idea of what your last week looked like as far as contacting and production. Why that's important to have in there is just so that you can keep track of, and your coach, your accountability coach and Action Monday manager can keep track of what you've been doing the previous week. But most important, it's for you so that you can see your progress. You can see, okay, I'm getting results, or you'll quickly see I'm not getting results, and then we know something needs to be tweaked. This tip analysis section, there is a separate video that you'll receive on how to calculate this. We do it in a separate video just so that you can refer back to that one from time to time just to get a quick analysis, but I'll do a quick run through for you right now. The T is the total number of hours that you worked last week. Again, this section is a summary of your last week. So you're going to put in there how many hours you worked last week. Let's say that I put in 40 real estate hours last week. Your P, your I, your N, your PIN study, or your P, I, and N time. In the sell training class, you'll learn that P time equals productive time. In other words, time spent in front of a potential buyer or seller. The reason we call it productive is that's how you get paid. So without appointments, face-to-face appointments with potential buyers and sellers, you're not going to get paid. So that is your most productive time. I time is indirectly productive. I time is the time spent creating P time. I time is basically prospecting. It's indirectly productive in that it contributes to your productivity, but it is not what is getting you paid. The P time, the face-to-face time, is getting you paid. I time is getting you P time. So they're both equally necessary to your business. So P time is productive, face-to-face appointments with real potential buyers and sellers. I time is indirectly productive. It is your prospecting time. N time is non-productive in that it doesn't create I time, it doesn't create P time. N time is all of the other stuff that you do. The reason it's called non-productive is not that it doesn't matter, because it does. It's very important. But let's say that it is being in a class, it is attending a sales meeting, it is doing a market analysis, it is searching the MLS for properties. It's all of the things that you would do that are not appointments and not prospecting. So in an ideal world, 33% of your time would be spent prospecting, 33% of your time would be spent, 33% of your time would be spent in appointments, 33% of your time would be spent prospecting, and 33% of your time spent doing all of the other stuff. Interestingly, the more P time you have, the more appointments you have, the more N time it creates, the more stuff you have to do. The more I time you have, the more P time it creates. So they each contribute to each other in a cyclical way, but all of them are important. So let's say that last week, so ideal is 33%, but let's say, for example's sake, that last week I worked a total of 40 hours. So that's in numbers of hours. Then let's say that I spent 10% of my time last week, or excuse me, let's say that I spent let's say I spent 10 hours of my total 40 hours in appointments. So 10 hours of my 40 hours would be 25%. So I worked a total of 40 hours, but I spent 10 hours face-to-face in appointments. Therefore, 25% of my week was spent in P time. Let's say that I prospected, though, last week 20 hours. So I worked 40 hours. I prospected for 20 hours of that time last week. So 50%, because 20 hours is 50% of 40 hours. So 50% of my week was spent in I time. Well, the math is pretty easy then. I've got 25% in appointments, 50% in prospecting. That leaves me with 25% that I must have spent doing my other stuff, all of my end time stuff. Now, again, ideally, 33%, a third of your day spent in each of these is ideal. But when you first get started, even spending 50% of your hours committed to real estate in I time is great. That's very effective. Do we expect 40 hours total in a week? No, we don't have an expectation around that. That's up to you. That's what you're willing to commit to get the results you need to get out of the business. Some people can get the results they need with 20 hours. Some people need to work 30 hours. Some people need to work 40. Some people are working 50 and 60 hours. It's completely your decision and your scheduling as to how much you work. This next section begins it's this week. So on your printed copy that you have, for some reason my electronic copy doesn't say this week, but your printed copy will say that this is this week's schedule right here. So this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's what you're going to do this week. We don't want to see what your schedule looked like last week. We want to see what your plans are for this week. So it may say that you're going to be in Action Monday for an hour and a half. And then you're going to, we just want to see your work hours, what you're going to do. Let's say that you are then going out at 1 o'clock to door knock for your quantum home tour. Let's say you're going to do that for a block of time from 1 to 4. And then at 4 o'clock, you're going to do some lead follow-up. Or whatever your schedule is going to look like. Tuesday morning, you're attending sales meeting, or whenever that is in your office. You may be, let's say at 2 o'clock, you're meeting with Quantum Home Tour Group. So you want to see what you're doing. We want to be able to see what your schedule is for the week. It's very critical that you block out your hours that you're going to work at real estate. And I will say my advice to you is plug your personal time into your personal calendar first. Get all of the time that you're going to be contributing to family and friends and all of those outside things that you do, get them in your calendar. That's the benefit of being self-employed. Plug them in. And now the rest of the hours you're working. And so with those hours that you're working, then kind of map out a strategy for what you're going to be doing during the week. You may not know every single minute of the entire week, but you'll have a good idea, especially the time spent generating business. So this door knocking for a Quantum Home Tour, maybe Wednesday morning starting at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be making my Jelly Bean Jar calls. Those of you that don't know what a Jelly Bean Jar is yet, you'll learn that. But maybe I'm making my Jelly Bean Jar calls for a few hours on Wednesday morning. And then on Thursday, I'm making some more Jelly Bean Jar calls. So whatever it is that you're going to be doing that week, especially prospecting, get it on your calendar so that you have a clear idea of what your week is going to look like. One of the common mistakes that I see is agents will fill out this Action Monday schedule quickly while they get there to action. When they arrive at Action Monday, they haven't thought it through. They're writing down what they think their Action Monday manager wants to hear. It will do them no good. This needs to be what they are going to do, what they're planning to do that will directly affect their business. So this schedule is really important that you've thought it out ahead of time and you get your schedule all set. Let's say Saturday at 11 you're going to be doing an open house or that, maybe that is your Quantum Home Tour. Saturday for 5 hours and Friday for 5 hours. Just get your schedule filled out. So enough said about schedule. Just make sure that you've completed it. We do have copies of Action Monday sheets that have this pin study down here at the bottom for you to keep track of your P time, I time, N time, and total hours worked each day at the end of the day. Not all of the sheets that you fill out have that on them, but some of them do if you want to use that form. This client phone number, all of this that goes in here, this section, what you're going to be doing here is filling out your, this is client or prospect, or your prospects, phone number information. Excuse me, let me back up. You don't need to do a phone number in there. You just need the client name. So let's say it's John Smith. He is a seller. And my next step with him, my next step, not the seller's next step, my next step with John is today, let's say today at 11 o'clock, I am going to be calling him. Just follow up. So I'm going to put my next step in there, and I'm going to list each person that is a potential client right now, either actually is a client or is a potential client. Let's say that I have Mary Brown, and she is a buyer, and she's actually under contract. My next step is with her is on Monday at noon. I'm going to be following up on the inspection to see how she felt things went with the inspection, or whatever it is, whatever my next step. So for you, the benefit of this section is for you not to lose anybody through the cracks and to keep clear what is your next step with this person. If you don't have a next step, if your next step, if maybe they're not ready to do something for a year, and so your next step is to put them on a drip campaign and follow up with them next year, then we remove them from this list. You put them on a drip campaign, you remove them from this list, and they go into your jelly bean jar, and you'll follow up with them regularly through your jelly bean jar. This is just kind of an immediate tickler file of people that you have a follow-up with right now. Your Action Monday manager can help you with these people and decide, are they real? Are they taking relevant steps? Are they doing all that they need to do? But again, I can't stress enough, the most important thing of this is your next step with them so that you don't lose anybody through the cracks. This commitment section, you're going to be filling out 1 to 3 commitments each week. We like to see 3 of what you will do in your business. This is not a goal. This is not an idea. This is not a I want to try. This is what I am doing this week, no matter what. So let's say I'm going to get 3 appointments this week, no matter what. Or I'm going to make 50 contacts this week, no matter what. I am going to, let's say I'm going to get with the office and make sure that my business cards are ordered. Now I'm going to say a little bit about that for a few weeks, it's okay to have things on your commitment sheet like getting business cards ordered, getting my website set up, those kinds of things. That's okay. Meeting with the staff, all of those kinds of things. But after a few weeks, we want to see things on there that are driving your business, that are going to get you in front of buyers and sellers. So if I've committed to 3 appointments, that doesn't mean I'm going to be meeting with John Smith, Mary Brown, and Susie Baker. That means I'm going to get 3 appointments even if John, Mary, and Susie are not available. I'm getting 3 appointments no matter what. So that means I've got to get up here. I've got 50 contacts that I'm making. That means I've got to make sure that in my calendar, I know when I'm making those 50 contacts. So I'm door knocking for my Quantum Home Tour here, and so I anticipate knocking on, let's say I'm knocking 50 doors that day or 40 doors that day, and so I anticipate I may be able to talk to maybe 15 people that day. And then I'm making my jelly bean jar calls here, making my jelly bean jar calls here. So I've got to make sure that between all of that, that I'm getting my 50 contacts in. So it's really important that you look down at these commitments, make sure they're plugged in to this body of your schedule to know when you're doing them. The following week, your Action Monday manager is going to follow up with you and say, okay, Stacy, how'd you do with your 3 appointments? And I will report, I got them. Or I may report, well, I got 2 of the 3. They'll say, well, so what happened? What got in the way? And then I'm going to need to identify what that obstacle or barrier that was that got in my way. So it may be something like, for example, well, I got sick. I got sick in the middle of the week. The Action Monday manager is going to say, well, what could you have done to have kept the commitment? And what we're doing is getting you into a place of and thinking of how could I have managed being sick and kept my commitment. So I made this commitment to 3 appointments. What could I have done? And it's up to me, not the Action Monday manager. It's up to me to come up with what could I have done to have kept that commitment. Well, I could have, got some rest and then made my calls in smaller blocks of time, or I could have done some individual personal text reach outs and done some text exchange if I had laryngitis and I couldn't talk, because sometimes I hear that as the reason that what got in the way. It's up to me to decide what could I have done, what needed to happen in order for me to keep my commitment. And then you're going to be asked the question, are you ready to recommit? Is that something I'm ready to recommit to? Um, I'll tell you what I see commonly is that an agent will put in here either what they think their Action Monday manager wants them to say, and while they're writing it on there, they already know they're not going to do it. They already know that their time is such that they probably are not going to do that. But they put it down to please someone else. We don't want you to do that. We want you putting down what you will do. We want to be able to follow up with you and have you report success with it. So please put down what you will do. You're going to, again, get asked what happened, what got in the way in a non-parental way. But if you did not keep the commitment, you're going to be asked what happened, what got in the way. So these commitments are things that I am going to do no matter what. They are not things that I want to do or I hope I can do. These are things that I'm going to do. So make them real. Make them real for you. There's no right or wrong answer there, as long as they are things that are driving your business. They're ambitious. They are, although reasonable at the same time and realistic, that you can do them, that they are they're attached to time, that you've got them up in your schedule up here again, as I mentioned. So you know when you're going to do it. So for example, business cards ordered. So I'm going to do that right after sales meeting. I'm going to order my business cards with staff or whatever. I'm going to plug that right in my schedule so I know when it's getting done so that I can have success with it and know that I'm getting it done. Again, with those commitments, if it ends up being something that consistently each week you're making the same commitment and not keeping the commitment, your Action Monday manager may ask you if that's something that we just need to take off the table. So again, I really encourage you, make sure these are things that you are going to do, not just I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And then any scheduled open houses that you may have coming up in the next few weeks. Just let your Action Monday manager know what the address is and the date and time of any open houses that you have coming up. So that's just a really, really quick overview of Action Monday schedule and how you're going to go about filling that out. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Ask your Action Monday manager. You can call Patricia Perlman, if you'd like to, and she can walk you through this as well or set up a time to meet with you separately. Hope you have a great day and looking forward to working with you in Journey to Mastery.